Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Frank, would you like to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rhodes,
Here.
Councilmember Litzter,
Here.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge,
Here.
Mayor Thomas.
Here. Are there any items for agenda review? Seeing none?
Mr. Mayor, I move that all resolutions and ordinances presented tonight be read in title only and all future further reading be waived.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously.
If any member of the City Council may have a conflict of interest or any reason why that member must abstain from consideration on any matter on this agenda, he or she should declare so at this time. And we are good to go.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, the first item on the agenda is item 1D1, presentation of a proclamation declaring the week of November 11th through 18, 2023 as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week. And Senior Management Analyst Cynthia McCullough is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Before I begin, I'd like to invite representatives from the following organizations to please come up: Food Share of Ventura County, Centro Familiar, Salvation Army, Senior Share, Siwa International, New Heart Church Food Pantry. And the Samaritan Center. I'm sorry, Annie. I was like, you're not coming up. I'm so sorry. Tonight, it is with great admiration for their incredible efforts and dedication that we recognize a few of the representatives that assist our vulnerable populations facing hunger and homelessness insecurities. Thank you to these and all of the remarkable organizations for their dedication, compassion, and unwavering belief in a better tomorrow. Your hard work does not go unnoticed, and your impact is immeasurable. The proclamation reads as follows: whereas the week of November 11th through November 18th, 2023 is recognized as Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week by the Ventura County Continuum of Care, and whereas there are many opportunities for individuals and organizations within our community to join together to raise awareness about the challenges faced by those experiencing housing and food insecurities, and whereas it is essential to recognize the importance of compassion and support for those struggling with housing and food insecurities and work collectively towards finding sustainable solutions to address these issues. And whereas the Food Share of Ventura County staff and volunteers distribute nearly 19 million pounds of food, providing 16 million meals annually countywide through its hunger programs and 190 pantry and program partners. And whereas 150 unhoused individuals were counted during the 2023 point-in-time count on January 24th, 2023 in the city of Simi Valley. And whereas individuals facing housing and food insecurities can receive a hot meal 7 nights a week, 365 days a year through the benevolence of the faith community, service organization, and businesses throughout Simi Valley. And whereas the city of Simi Valley has over 130 nonprofit organizations, and their volunteers dedicate countless hours and resources to strengthen the community for those most in need and in risk of housing and food insecurities. And now, therefore, the week of November 11th through November 18th, 2023, is hereby proclaimed Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week in the city of Simi Valley to encourage all community members to offer support to those in need and in recognition of the hard work, dedication, and countless contributions that form a safety net in our community. Presented on this 6th day of November 2023.
So I want to thank each and every one of you, and of course, the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers that make each of your organizations work to help our most vulnerable population. It's a tough job, and I mean, it's just a sign. I'm just, I really appreciate that there's so many people willing to participate and help to make a difference. So thank you very much. Anyone like to say anything? Okay.
Just Pam Castro, as food chair. Our job here in the county for every city is to be the people they can count on in terms of obtaining the free food, the millions of pounds of free food that flow into whether it's hooking them up with the local retails or coming straight to you, delivery or through the warehouse. But I'm so proud that you have spent a little time to recognize these people. We see them every day, 24/7, of the hard work they do. It's really a lot of hard work, and yet they keep doing it, many for 20 plus years, keep going on. So I want to thank you for recognizing these incredible gems you have in your city.
Well done. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm standing here very humbled because I represent an amazing team from our church, and I know each of us represent amazing teams of volunteers that serve, and I just want to say thank you for recognizing this. We're a city that's not immune to need, and so we're so thankful for all of the other facilities and organizations that are doing this good work, but I'm just thankful. Just hearing this for the first time, what you proclaimed is great, so thank you very much for recognizing these amazing volunteers.
Oh, it's a small token for all the hard work you guys do. So again, thank you very much. You guys want to get a group photo? Like, come around here and so that they can actually see everybody. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 2, public statements on appointments, special presentations, and informational reports. Mr. Mayor, we have no speakers for this item this evening. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 3A1, appointment of Special Event Support Review Committee members, and Management Analyst Heidi DiNardo is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. In 2014, the City Council established the Special Event Support Review Committee to evaluate applications for city support and subsequently recommend funding allocations to the City Council. The City Council purposely did not impose specific scoring criteria, but did provide the committee with the following guidelines. Preference to fund events where event proceeds are used locally within Simi Valley, and preference to fund events with greater community public benefits over events with lesser community public benefits. Each year, the city receives several grant requests, yet only $25,000 is available. Therefore, it is crucial that these resources are allocated to events that have a broad and lasting impact on our community. The committee plays a pivotal role in reviewing applications and prioritizing those that align with the principle of reinvesting in our community, while providing substantial benefits that enhance the quality of life for all of Simi Valley residents. The committee is composed of one member from each of the city's 4 neighborhood councils and one member from the Council on Aging. Each of these bodies has nominated individuals for the committee, and it is now recommended that the City Council appoint the following nominated committee members. For those of you who are in attendance this evening, and I believe I only have one member, please come up to the front. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 1, David Masso. That's our special guest. Regrettably, Neighborhood Council Number 2, Gail Sutton, is unable to make it. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 3, Bridget Charbonneau. Representing Neighborhood Council Number 4, Jan Smith. And finally, representing Council on Aging, Janet Plant. We thank you for that. Yes. Thank you, David.
I would like to move that we appoint the 5 nominees to the 2024 Special Event Support Review Committee.
Second.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 4, public statements. During this agenda item number 4, the City Council will hear public statements from the first 10 persons who have submitted speaker cards. After the first 10 persons have spoken, subsequent persons who submitted speaker cards will be called to speak during agenda item number 6, which is a continuation of agenda item number 4. Agenda items 4 and 6 are the times allotted for public statements on all items other than public hearings, appointments, and informational reports. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public statements item 4 for a period of no more than 3 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Mr. Mayor, unless you have any comments, we can begin public statements.
Please proceed.
The first speaker is Eileen Connor.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Gabler. My name is Eileen Connors. I'm the Emergency Services Manager for the City of Simi Valley. Tonight, I'd like to talk to you about the Emergency Preparedness Outreach and Evacuation Plan that the city has joined with Moore Park and Thousand Oaks to do. I'm here to encourage people to fill out the survey. We are doing an emergency preparedness survey. It literally will take you 2 minutes. We don't ask any personal information unless you want to supply your email. We're basically trying to gauge how prepared the community is, what we need to do informational education on, and what else we could do better as far as taking care of community access and functional needs folks, things like that. You can find it by going to the city's website, simivalley.org, searching for emergency services, and you'll see the survey smack dab in the middle. If you can't find it, my office number is 805-583-6982. I am happy to help you. Also on that page, you'll find our emergency plan booklet. This is an oversized demo copy. It's a book you can tailor to your family's needs, your family's communication plan, a checklist of things you should put in your kit, and then some also very handy resources like VC Alert and MyShake app. The reason I'm making a fuss about this is we gave out, I don't know how many booklets at the wonderful street fair that was on October 28th. We have a community of 126,000 people. We've had less than 200 responses. So I really encourage you to please take a moment and do this survey. Again, my number is 805-583-6982. I am happy to help you if you need help. Thank you.
John Lapper.
Mayor Thomas and City Council. Over 2 years ago, I was interviewed by Mayor Mashburn and Councilwoman Luevanos and chosen to be a nominee for the Executive Board of the Neighborhood Council. When I came up for a vote, Mayor Mashburn, against his own stated protocol, did not nominate me, thus no vote. Rocky Rhodes, Councilman Judge, and local Republicans joined in blocking my nomination, allegedly over my Democratic-leaning social media posts. Democrats Leanna Brand was rejected for the volunteer position on the Cultural Arts Center Board, and Rebecca Au was removed from Neighborhood Council for her, for her viewpoints on DUI checkpoints, which at the time were being administered unfairly. Then on October 23rd, you chose and approved Peter Karube for neighborhood council, while knowing complaints had been submitted on the public record about Peter's inflammatory posts and comments about the LGBTQ community, saying they're misfits, disgusting, and gross him out and don't deserve rights, and that the pride flag shouldn't be allowed. Even saying the pride event at the Rancho Simi Park and Rec shouldn't be allowed. Those and others attached, including an insensitive racial comment. Mayor Pro Tem Judge was disavowed by the Simi Council for posting inappropriate memes on social media. LAPD Chief Michael Moore's investigation found Officer Judge posted inappropriate material on social media and was disciplined by LAPD. Leanna, Rebecca Al, and myself did not post inappropriate material on social media. Merely political viewpoints some in our city could not accept. This council needs to consider if Peter's character is worthy of representing the residents of a neighborhood council. Double standards are never a good look. Or this could all be put to rest if the council takes responsibility for wrongfully preventing me and others from serving on the neighborhood council. An apology goes a long way to healing a wrongdoing. And on a positive note, a great shout out to Simi Valley PD Sergeant Kyle Crocker for a most rewarding ride-along that I did Saturday. What an extraordinary individual and a great asset to the Simi Valley PD. Thank you, John Lapper.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is public hearings. This is a time for testimony on public hearings on the consideration of matters as presented on this agenda. Let the record show that due notice was given as required by law, and an affidavit to this effect is on file in the office of the city clerk. All comments submitted by email have already been provided to the City Council and will be made part of the record. However, they will not be read by the city clerk this evening. Speakers will be called on in the order in which their card was submitted to speak for this public testimony, item 5, for a period of no more than 5 minutes each. Persons addressing the City Council are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Comments shall be limited to the matters relevant to this item on the agenda and may be ruled out of order if comments are unrelated to the item. The reports of city staff relating to the matters shall be made part of the record of this meeting. If they challenge in court any of the City Council decisions made here this evening, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at this public hearing. The time within which judicial review must be sought is governed by California Code of Civil Procedure, Section 1094.6. A public hearing to consider city-initiated municipal code amendments Z-S-2023-0006 to amend portions of Title IX of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to modify standards for residential off-street parking, front yard landscaping, rear yard vehicle access gates and screening, a determination that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, and introduction of an ordinance. The reading of the ordinance is as follows. Ordinance number 1353, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Simi Valley for city-initiated municipal code amendments Z-S-2023-0006 to amend portions of Title IX of the Simi Valley Municipal Code to modify standards for residential off-street parking, front yard landscaping, rear yard vehicle access gates and screening, and a determination that the amendments are exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. Deputy Environmental Services Director Sean Gibson, Associate Planner Alex Klingman, and Principal Planner Claudia Pedroso are here to present this item.
Just before you start,
Before we begin, are there any conflicts or ex parte communications to report?
we also skipped an agenda item. 4A, just in case anybody wanted to respond. Just in case.
Oh.
Continue with public hearing or jump back?
Either way is fine.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to point out for the record that I was never disciplined by the Los Angeles Police Department for posting Facebook posts. ever in my entire 31 career. Thank you.
Councilman Rhodes?
Eileen? Yes, sir. I just want to confirm, if they went to the emergency services page, right in the center is where they'd find that survey? I find if you say it more than once that people maybe, if you say it more than once, then people generally, yeah, so I'll be filling it out. Thank you. And Mr. Lapper, I don't believe that you ran or submitted an application for neighborhood council this time around. And so what I've done as a citizen versus what I would have done as a council member, I guess we'll never know because you didn't actually submit an application. So those are all my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Litzter?
Actually, I just wanted to say thank you, Eileen, for publicly giving out your phone number. I thought that was not once, but twice. And I've written it down. Now I know how to get you directly, so watch out. But I too will be filling out that emergency response or survey that you've requested, and would encourage all of us here to do as much as well. And Mr. Lapper, again, we appreciate your attendance and always your comments. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming and talking about that. I noticed that the time we're most prepared is just after an earthquake. And as the years go by, we become less and less and less prepared. So I think it's a good time to remind everybody. Thank you. Okay, we can proceed on now. All right. Well then, staff, you can go ahead and begin your oral report then, please.
Thank you, Mayor Thomas. This is agenda item 5A. So tonight I'd like to introduce Associate Planner Alex Kleeman for tonight's staff report for item 5A.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and members of the City Council. Tonight we will be reviewing city-initiated municipal code amendments to modify standards for residential off-street parking and related provisions. In 1969, the city adopted the County of Ventura's off-street parking requirements. And over time, these requirements have been amended, but still restrict the location of oversized vehicles such as RVs. In 2018, complaints about RV parking led to a review of the city's off-street parking requirements, and additional rear yard parking areas were then added to the code in 2021. In August, the City Council directed staff to draft an ordinance to allow a paved parking area on the opposite side of the main driveway, reduce front yard landscaping requirements from 50 to 32%, and update rear yard parking access gates and screening standards. And tonight we will present each of those proposed amendments. Current standards allow uncovered parking beyond the required 2-car garage in the following locations shown here in blue: on the driveway in front of the garage, on the portion of the front yard between the driveway and the closest side property line. This is also referred to as the 10-foot paving allowance, on a circular driveway in the front yard, or between the house and the side yard property line on either side. The city also allows parking in the rear yard within an approved garage or carport, shown on the left, the driveway leading up to an approved covered parking, shown on the right, or on an approved parking pad, also shown on the right. The proposed ordinance would allow a paved parking area up to 10 feet wide on the opposite side of the main driveway, as shown here in yellow, when certain standards are met. One of the standards is that the primary home must have a minimum side yard setback of 9 feet to ensure that vehicles are not parked in front of the house structure. A minimum of 30% of the front yard must be landscaped. The parking area must originate from a driveway approach or accessway approved by Public Works, and a zoning clearance and encroachment permit would be required. This image shows an example of an opposite side parking with a new driveway approach. And although the amendment specifies that residential off-street parking areas must be accessed through an existing or new driveway approach, there may be situations where this is infeasible due to required driveway widths, street trees, or to maintain front yard landscaping. To address this issue, and at the request of City Council, homeowners may record a deed restriction on their property. This will indemnify the city from any damages to the curb and/or sidewalk caused by the homeowner driving over it to access their parking area. The deed restriction must be approved by the city attorney and recorded before the city can issue a zoning clearance. This photo is an example of a property where a curb cut may not work due to the light pole and street tree, but a deed restriction could be an option. Additionally, to ensure visibility on corner lots, the ordinance clarifies that parking areas and vehicles should remain outside of the traffic site safety area, as shown here in yellow. This TSSA is a space designed to allow drivers to see around the corner and should not be obstructed by anything over 36 inches in height. The city currently requires that 50% of the front yard be landscaped with natural plants or approved artificial turf. At the August 28th meeting, City Council directed that this percentage be reduced to 32% to allow for the additional parking area as shown on the image to the right. The proposed ordinance would allow a decrease in the required front yard landscaping from 50 to 30% only to accommodate the paved parking area on the opposite side of the driveway. Staff has chosen 30% to simplify the calculation and allow more efficient processing of applications. After changes were made to rear yard parking regulations in 2021, staff has also identified minor revisions that could improve parking options for residents. Under current standards, residents must screen their entire rear yard with a solid fence in order to park there if they don't have a garage or carport. However, this can be expensive for those with large acreage properties, such as the one shown here on the left, and may be unnecessary for those properties that back to a hillside or open space area. The proposed ordinance reduces this screening requirement to only within 50 feet of the designated parking area, shown on the right in yellow. The amendment also makes parking screening optional on the sides of a yard that abut a street and yard areas that are adjacent to a reverse corner lot in order to maintain sightline visibility, as shown here in red. And lastly, the ordinance would remove the current requirement of a 20-foot vehicle gate setback for side and rear yards that do not abut arterial or collector streets. This is because requiring the vehicle gate to be set at 20 feet creates an awkward fencing requirement, such as a fence or gate jogging, as shown on the image to the left. This amendment would make rear yard parking more feasible, as vehicles could be parked closer to the property line without having to be set back 20 feet for gate location purposes. Based on the previous City Council direction, the following alternatives are available tonight. To 1, introduce ordinance number 1353 to modify residential off-street parking standards, front yard landscaping requirements, and rear yard vehicle access gates and screening. Option 2 is to direct staff to return with an ordinance to modify only the standards for rear yard vehicle access gates and screening. Alternative 3 would be to take no action, or 4, to provide alternative direction to staff. This concludes our presentation, and staff is available for any questions.
Any questions of staff? Councilmember Rhodes?
So my question is not on the ordinance that you presented tonight. And my question would be on adding more detail to that ordinance. And I'm not sure if that's after public comment or now. No? All right. Yeah. This is time for questions of staff.
So you can elaborate on what you'd like after receive public input.
Right. Okay. So I have no, on this presentation, I have no questions of staff. Thank you for the report.
Thank you. Appreciate your report. Could we put the pictures back up? I'd like to see the picture you had where the car and the tree was blocking the potential. Okay. And so, yeah, thank you. That's exactly the photo. My question, only just because I love to use this pointer, and I get to on this one. So my question is, I just want to understand what is meant by the 9-foot setback that is required. Are you talking about the distance between the property yard and the property and the line and the house? That's correct. That needs to be 9 feet, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so in this instance, well, I guess we don't know if that's 9 feet or not, but.
This is just an example
This-
of a tree blocking a possible.
Got it, okay.
driveway.
Very good. I just wanted to understand on that photo. I do have a question on, if we could actually turn to page 5 in the report. If I can get there. I'll put my glasses on for this one, sorry. It says, and this maybe is about that 9-foot setback. It is suggested that the primary home have a minimum 9-foot side yard setback to permit the additional paved area. This will ensure that vehicles are not parked in front of the house structure. So you're just talking about the width of the driveway. As it stands, if we were to go forward with this, RVs could park certainly on that side, correct? You just don't want it so that they're slightly in front of the house? Is that, or I'm just trying to understand what was meant by this comment.
Yes, that's correct. It's to allow a great enough width for a potential driveway so that there's no vehicle parked right in front of the house.
But is a vehicle precluded from parking in front of the house in any of this that's being proposed? I mean, is a vehicle being precluded from parking, an RV being precluded from parking on the side? It could park either side in the driveway, not next to the house, correct? Okay.
The way it's currently proposed, yes.
Okay. Okay, and so just a question. So the way we're looking at it right now, an RV could park, you could have multiple RVs, correct? There's no restriction on how many is parked in the front? Just, okay.
Currently.
The 30% landscaping that you've demonstrated and what it looks like, et cetera, what other cities in Ventura County have a 30% front landscape allowance? Are there others?
From the research that I did, a majority of other jurisdictions in Ventura County do require at least a 50%, the majority.
A majority. Are there any that are at 30? I just curious if that you're aware of.
I can't remember, but I can get that information.
Fair enough.
to you.
That's fine. Okay. Actually, those are just my questions from the presentation for now. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You may or may not know the answer. So because we've talked about this at the last meeting, I've been paying attention, really looking at different yard fronts and different things. So I can compare my yard to my mother's yard. So I am 60 foot width and 100 feet deep, so a 6,000 square foot lot. So if you were to put only 30% landscaping on mine, it would look kind of dinky. But yet my mother has a much wider lot and has a cement slab already on the one side as well as the parking, and still has 50% landscaping. So my question, sorry, I'm just telling you. My question is, do we know what the average lot width is approximately, or is that not even feasible to even guess at? I know it's a hard question, I'm sorry.
We haven't taken a physical average of the city, but you may know from going around the city, there's certain subdivisions that have narrow lots, 45 to 55-foot lots. Some neighborhoods have up to 80-foot wide lots, and even the large areas have larger lot widths, but 65, 60s, more of the general width in most of the valley floor areas, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what you're generally gonna find are the older neighborhoods with single-story homes are going to have the wider lots than neighborhoods that are predominantly two-story that are probably built after the mid to late 80s.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you. I just wanted an idea on that.
I have comments, but no questions. Thank you. At this time, would like to open the hearing for anyone in this council chamber wishing to be heard on this matter.
Mr. Mayor, we have 2 speaker cards.
Okay.
John Lapper.
Mayor Thomas, City Council, from 2018 to 2023, what have we accomplished on RV parking and residential front yard parking issues? It appears we are regressing. Councilman Rocky Rhodes lives in Bridle Path Homeowner Association, so why should he worry about Main Street scene? Mayor Pro Tem Judge only cares about individual homeowner rights, but not the neighbor's rights. Mayor Thomas admitted he wouldn't want a parking lot next to his house. Councilman Kavanaugh has refused to answer my request as to why she voted to increase residential front yard to now being 70% parking lots. Councilwoman Litster actually got it right when she said she sees the responsibility of the city council as being the HOA for the city residents when it comes to community standards and code enforcement. Why the need to increase the initial staff recommendation of 50% front yard residential parking lots to 70% parking lots, which no other city, to my information, allows? Who requested it and why did this even come up? Although I don't approve of it, I get you are okay with the possibility of someone now parking an RV on both sides of their property. But how can you allow a residential front yard to now be 70% parking lot with no restrictions on what can be parked there according to my inquiry with City Manager Gabler? Are you okay with 2 RVs, a camper shell, a toy box, jet skis, fifth wheel camper, cargo trailer, boats, enclosed canopy for storage, and other items? As proposed, staff report admits it's going to be difficult for code enforcement to police this measure with this calculation, which will result in violations being missed. This will change the community character on some streets in a negative way. Where is the involvement of the neighborhood councils and planning commission? If 52 neighborhood council executive members can't give input on this vital matter, then why have neighborhood councils? Staff, where are the parking complaints for the city council to review to get a better understanding of what the community has been upset with for many years? Your graphs are impressive, but where are the photos of problem houses in Simi Valley that will now only get worse if we open this can of worms? I am asking for the council to not approve this measure as written and come up with guidelines as to exactly what can be parked or stored on the residential front yard parking lot. I also would like the city council to limit the parking lot to the previously accepted 50% limit. I see no benefits to the community of having front yards converted to 70% parking lots. On social media, the public was overwhelmingly against the 70% threshold. I sent a few photos that the city council has of what can happen if our city were to move forward with the measure. So again, my question is, I heard that the 70% would only apply if you added the extra parking for RV on the right side or the opposite side of the house. So I need clarification whether that's the case or this ordinance is going to make it okay for anybody to have 70% front yard parking. And another curious question, could a person rent out the extra yard side for an RV rental, for example? So they have their own RV, now they have the pad over there and they rent it out for another RV. Those are my questions. John Lapper, Simi Valley. Thank you.
Frank Bush.
Good evening, honorable council members, Mr. Mayor. I am here tonight, not necessarily in favor or against this ordinance, but I read through it thoroughly, and a few things came to my mind. I have had 31 years of experience in code enforcement, the City of Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety, and zoning and code enforcement. And I would like to suggest or give some suggestions to a couple of additions and a few additions in verbiage in this ordinance. One of the things that I think is important for enforcement is to clarify that this storage and this parking is incidental to the main approved use of the house. And it's in my opinion that it should be the occupants of the house or the owners or occupants of the house that do the parking on the property, so that it doesn't end up becoming a commercial rental sites. And it's really funny, as I sat and I read through this whole ordinance, I believe it was on Saturday, and then coincidentally on Sunday, I think it was, I saw an advertisement on the Simi neighborhood group on Facebook, somebody advertising their side yard for rental in there. But it can become a big problem if it becomes a storage yards throughout and have them going in and out of the properties all the time, things like that, just for consideration. Also, I think I heard some discussion about it already, but is it going to be allowed if they have a property has a spot where they have parking on one side of the garage and they also have a space on the opposite side of the garage, and are they going to have spaces in the back? How many are going to be allowed there? Can they do one or two, or is it numerous? This would just be something that needs to be clarified, especially for trying to do code enforcement. Also, so the one thing is to consider adding verbiage that these RVs, if they're RVs, aren't to be occupied, they aren't to be parked there for occupancy and then become rental units throughout, which can be, I've seen that become a real problem historically. And then also, as we're adding into this, any consideration being given for additional resources for the code enforcement operation to handle the new complaints, all the new complaints that'll be coming in when the ordinance is in there. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that was the last speaker.
Would staff like to respond to any of that? Councilmember Rhodes. Oh, staff, yes.
No, staff has no comments on the public comments, but we are available to respond further should any future deliberation take place.
Okay, thank you. Okay, well, then in that case, the hearing is now closed. So any further comments or questions from city council members? Councilmember Rhodes.
Do we get to comment on public comments?
Whatever you want.
Okay. Sir, I didn't get your name when they called it. Frank? Frank. Mr. Bush, thank you for bringing great, responsible, and proactive considerations to council. We share a lot of the same views, and I think that you will hear that in vigorous discussion here coming up shortly. So thank you for being here and taking the time to do that.
Councilmember Litster.
Oh, I'd taken notes on, and I wondered if the staff wanted to respond to some of the questions that were asked by by our speakers. I think I jotted down, is this, can it be 70% for any usage? Is it only, is the landscape reduction only a possibility if they are putting in pavement for RV?
Yeah, so the 30% landscaping, or conversely 70% pavement, is that's a pavement requirement, not a parking allowance. Some of the pavement might not be parkable. Theoretically, you could use pavement for decoration, landscape features, so it's not necessarily 70% parking. I'll point that out. Just to follow up some of the other questions the public had, there is also currently no limit to the number of vehicles. We regulate by pavement location where parking could occur, but the quantity is not in this ordinance as currently proposed.
And I think the other question that I heard was restricting it to ownership versus being able to be rented out, et cetera. Is there anything right now written in that restricts this to property, vehicle ownership or
Yes.
something similar?
I don't believe there's a specific vehicle ownership standard specifically that certainly could be added in a future amendment if we can't get it tonight, or it could be drawn up that way. And same thing with
And
being-
actually,
being
this might be a
occupied.
question I'd like to ask our attorney, actually. Can you restrict rental usage of individual property in this manner?
That was one of the things I was going to say. I think that if you have people visiting, if you have people showing up, I think
Sure.
that it may become problematic to say that they can't park there on somebody else's property. It's not one of the things that was up for consideration, but definitely something that we would need to research to find out whether we can do it. But my first inclination is that we would not be able to restrict it to just the owners or just the occupants.
Got it. And I think and I certainly understand that scenario. I think the question that's being raised is renting out a spot to someone who wants to park their vehicle.
I do believe that we can restrict it in that capacity. You see that a lot of time when you have events in some cities, that people will rent out these different areas and stuff like that. I do believe that that's a restriction, but again, that's something that we'd have to research to make sure that we're not infringing on anybody's rights.
Fair enough. Got it. Thank you. Okay.
Good. Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For everybody's information, I was the one that brought this forward to the council a long time ago because it's been about 6 years now. Citizens contacted me that had property on the side of their house opposite of their garage that was perfectly suitable to park an RV on, but for some reason our city had a code against it where they could not park the RV on the opposite side of the garage, where they had plenty of room, where they did not have the room on the side of the garage. That is why I brought this forward. Another city ordinance that we had said you couldn't drive across your front yard to get to that RV property. For whatever reason, I do not know, because it's your front yard, it's your house, you can do what you want. If you want to put an RV on the opposite side of your garage and drive across your lawn to get to it, you should be able to do that. That is not going over the curb, that is not violating any state code or anything like that as far as the vehicle code. That is why I brought this forward. This is a complete and only thing about citizens' rights in their houses. If they want to put their RV on the opposite side of their garage, that is what this ordinance is for. It is not to let people live in RVs or rent a space in their RVs or to have a place where you can store RVs for a rental purpose. But on the other hand, if you have a fence up that is covering your RV access, whether it's on the side of your garage or on the opposite side of your house, and somebody is renting that space to store their RV, there is nothing the city can do about that. Nothing, because you have that right, and unless that vehicle is exposed so the plate can be registered or seen by the authorities, and be checked to see that that vehicle is not registered to that house, there's nothing that can be done. We're not advocating for that in any other way. I am not advocating for that at all. I'm advocating for the fact that people that own a home where they do not have space on the side of their garage, but have space on the other side of their house, to be able to put their RVs on that side of the house. That is it. That is the only thing this ordinance was to do. The 32% landscaping reduction, in my opinion, is common sense. We just went through a 4-year drought. 4-year drought, we were telling people not to water their grass except 2 times a week. Most of those people's grasses died. They ended up planting weeds. You might call it natural landscaping. I call it weeds. That is what I call it. Now, the state of California is coming down with an ordinance pretty soon from our assembly that will say you cannot have, what is it called? Unusable turf? Non-functional turf. That is what they in Sacramento call your front yard, non-functional turf. So, cutting it down to 32%, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. That is something the city should accept, and that should be the way it is. There's other things, too, because even if you allow the 50% landscaping, all of that can be pavers, because pavers are landscaping. You don't have to have grass. There doesn't have to be anything green in front of your house. You can pave the whole thing with whatever color brick you want. As long as it's not set in concrete, that is landscaping. My comment. Thank you.
You still in? Yeah.
eventually, but I just want to hear my
All right, well,
comments.
my point of view. So I did vote against this originally. My feeling on that was, I'm all for having the option of putting the extra driveway on the other side if the one side doesn't accommodate it. And even if they do have room and they want a driveway on each side, I don't have a problem with that either. What I do have a problem with is no restrictions on what could be out there, because what I don't want to see is a driveway and two side driveways full of all kinds of, toys and RVs, and I just don't see any reason why you need two RVs on your property. And I just think it's unfair for the neighbors to have all that out there. If you have a bunch of cars, I don't have a problem with that, but I think there should, in my opinion, should be some kind of restriction as to what can be parked, one RV and cars. And then as far as behind a fence in the backyard, I feel like you can do whatever you want. No, that's my opinion. Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So it sounds like we moved beyond the responding to public comments to
Yes.
questions about this ordinance and discussion with staff. And so what I wanted to start with is saying I'm willing to admit I made a mistake. And my mistake was, after vigorous discussion at the last council meeting, hearing what I wanted to hear, we did not put into the staff direction for drafting this ordinance the things that I was hoping would be in there. And so now we're going to circle back, and I'm going to start the conversation on things that I would like to see. So first, a compliment on the ordinance itself. I have no problem with what we voted on and accepted. I'm looking to add additional verbiage that would then execute on what I think we're all saying is some sensible limitations on this. And to do this, I went back and listened to our entire hour discussion of the last council meeting, read the ordinance again. And in our last conversation, we were having a discussion about what is an RV, or what is a non-passenger vehicle, or what is a passenger vehicle. Here's my outcome that I'm looking for, and then we're going to have to figure out how to create the wording to do that should the council want to go along. The intent of this ordinance was placement of an RV. And if it was not able to be done on one side of your property, that we created an environment where we could move it to the other side of the property, and we added into that the fact that you didn't need a curb cut to get over. If you were comfortable driving your RV over the curb and you were willing to hold the city harmless in that exercise, you could build on that side and park on that side. The net benefit for the city is that we've just created a parking spot on the street. So if your RV is taking up your spot in your driveway and you're now passenger cars on the street because you can't off-street park, and you move the RV over, you can park your car back in the driveway again. You've created an off-street parking spot, and I think that's a net benefit to look and feel of the city. Specifically, we talked in the conversation about, hey, does that just mean now I can have an RV on one side and an RV on the other side? And that is, I want to specifically have language that is not the intent. And to whatever extent possible, I would like that language to reflect one non-passenger vehicle, whether that's an RV, a toy, a horse trailer, whatever that non-passenger vehicle is. Now, whether we decide to define non-passenger vehicle or define passenger vehicle, that is my intent of this ordinance. And I'm comfortable with that. What we already passed, I just would like to see that controlled language put in. And so with that bomb and a grenade, I put that out to the council.
So is a boat a passenger vehicle?
Is what?
A boat a passenger vehicle?
It is not a passenger
Exactly.
vehicle. Okay. I understand what one is, right? But if we're going to enforce this, we need to have language that is enforceable.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Thank you. I was going to comment before, but in listening to Councilmember Rhodes, he pretty much said what I was thinking. We did not put the limitation on, I thought we discussed it, but we forgot to put in the limitation on the numbers. Okay. So, because in my mind, I was thinking you could still only have one RV out there, because that's what the majority of the people that are looking for is they don't have room on their driveway side, and so they want it over on the other side. So I agree with Councilmember Rhodes, so thank you.
Councilmember Lister.
Sorry, I just turned my mic off. Thank you. As I read through what has been prepared and presented for us this evening, I absolutely see the logic in the backyard changes to the fencing, et cetera, and I would propose that this evening that possibly we move forward with that portion of the discussion and revisit the front yard discussion as Councilmember Rhodes has suggested, because I do think the intention was and is to have one RV, but have it be potentially on both, either side, whichever is most conducive. Sorry, I thought this was not even here. My question, I guess, as I see what 30% looks like, for me, it's a little alarming. I understand, Mayor Pro Tem Judge, your point that we've gone through a drought and landscaping is different for other people, and it may be it's subjective, and it may be a moot point in time. I guess my concern, though, is that we do not hasten the demise of the appearance of our front yards in our beautiful community. I personally would like to go forward with what's been proposed, but I would like to wonder if we can still keep it at 50% and say, because there are many properties, as Dee Dee pointed out, there are some properties that 50% still satisfies you can have it both sides. There are just some that, if they're very narrow, that to get that something on the other side, they would have to restrict it. Can you refresh my memory of what that percentage, and I don't know how many properties are we talking? Half of the properties in Simi, or we don't really know exactly what that, we really don't know. Okay.
Actually, we have a slide on
This is what I recalled. Okay, thank you. This was from last time, as I recall. Thank you. So I guess what I would like us to look at as we are visiting this issue is the possibility of, yes, I like the suggestion of being sure either side and one, I don't know how we define non-passenger, but one RV and then other passenger vehicles. But I would like to, I would like to maybe suggest we consider being a little more conservative with this percentage and keep it for now at 50%, still allowing paving on the other side, and thereby recognizing the character and the appearance of our city as we have it right now, because that is really what is in place, correct? 50% landscaping right now. Is that accurate?
Current standard is 50%.
Got it.
And
Okay.
Repeat that question?
No, that's what you validated what I asked, which is, anyway, my statement is that we can go forward in discussion, but I would be happy to entertain driveway on the other side if somehow it fell with 50% landscaping still. And those are my thoughts right now.
Councilmember Rhodes.
So to continue that conversation, and with this chart in mind, I get what you're saying, and I'm looking at this, and that means that this ordinance would only then be for people with RVs that have lots that are above about 70 feet in width. And that's the only ones that it would apply to, because otherwise you would fall below the 50-foot threshold if you added the other side paving. There's no house on this chart under 70 feet wide lot that you could do this that we're trying to accomplish. So all of the people that currently have RVs on that, on their house, on their lots, we're not helping them. So I get it. Take it incrementally.
I'm sorry, and I'm trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying that if they have that already, you're saying that you're looking at this chart.
Look at this chart, and if there's someone with a 65-foot lot or a 40-foot lot there, and they put an RV in front, that is where it is, and there's nothing that we can do for them. They don't get to move the RV to the other side because they cannot now pave that parking spot on the other side, or will fall below.
Except if I read the chart correctly, 65 foot still allows it if they don't have an additional side 10-foot strip on the side.
If we allow it, it goes to 32%.
No. That if you read it, that is the additional 10-foot strip and the other side. And so if they don't have a 10-foot strip, which of course gives them room to park it, if they don't have a 10-foot strip, they can still do it on the other side. In my book, 48%, I hope you round that to 50 and allow that. I hope we're not splitting hairs. But in my book, as I read that chart, a typical 65-foot lot would accommodate that. It is really only the 40-foot lots that no longer that wouldn't accommodate that. And they don't make 30% anyway, as I look at this chart.
And Mayor Thomas, maybe I could chime in on the chart. The chart is an example. Every lot is unique. You cannot go by the minimum lot width or the maximum lot width. Some lots are deeper than others, so you could calculate 30, 40, 50% in many different ways. So I just want to make that clear as far as you can't go by the lot width to determine what equals 30%. And
There's depth. Yeah.
So, and the other thing, maybe for the council's benefit, Alex, if you want to go to the option A slide, at our last August council meeting, we referred to an option to allow the opposite side parking only if the right-handed side parking is not wide enough to accommodate an RV. So this option was presented back in August that might answer part of your question as far as one side versus the other. You can't have it on both. So this option would allow you the opposite side parking if the narrow side is too narrow to park an RV. And lastly, for the vehicle quantities, again, our ordinance is geared towards pavement location versus the quantity of vehicles that could trigger some sort of permitting system, and it still doesn't resolve the issue of parking RVs in your main driveway, which is currently allowed.
Well, I don't know if I'm in the minority or not, but I like option A.
In option A, we're saying less than 8 feet, but what's the width the car needs to be parked on? It could be parked on a 6-foot, can't it? So if somebody were to pave that little strip, they could park cars there, but not necessarily an RV. On the one side, yeah, and you kind of maneuver around. I see what you're saying. So 8 feet would be more of a normal for a car park. What's a parking spot average or space?
19 by 8.
19 by 8, a compact parking space is usually 7.5 feet wide. The 8 feet dimension was just a number that could be, we could narrow that down to 5 feet or 7 feet. 8 feet was.
And it's going to be different on every single lot.
Sure.
So, yeah. So
And you can have RVs that are 10 feet tall, so.
Yeah, okay.
Just for the council's reference, because we were looking at that chart, page 29 and 30 will show you option A and option B, because option B was referenced up there. I just want to make sure the council has that information.
But what we voted on last time and had them bring back was B.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Can you put up B? Can you put up option B?
And option A or B, it's the square, it's the amount of landscaping that's left, I guess. Option A was to have one or the other. Is that correct?
I'm not opposed to B if the property is wide enough
Agreed.
to accommodate that without, being, an overwhelming majority of the front yard being a driveway.
B gets you the extended parking on the garage side as well.
Right.
A does not.
Right.
Is that correct?
And I'm saying that to restrict that on a narrow lot is why we have to have that landscape restriction.
Unless the house is set back really far. I'm still comfortable with option B, what we passed last time. I think that the idea of what can be in front is a larger concern aesthetically than how much greenery or shrubbery or landscaping. The difference in the 16 to 18%, or I guess now staff has rounded.
It's
so
20% now.
20% difference in the landscaping for
30.
the majority of the lots. I'm
Well,
less concerned about that 20% than I am about what parks.
why
in
I'm
front.
thinking about it is my first home here in Simi and Wood Ranch was a 45-foot lot width. You take a 10-foot here and a 10-foot there and a 20-foot driveway, that's 40 feet. It's got 5 yard of front yard. 5 feet of front yard. That's ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know how you can control that.
I think the mayor is right. I don't mind having a driveway on the other side as well, either way. And I don't mind B, as long, if the lot's large enough, I guess. So I think we get through that by saying if it's 50%, you can have it either way. So your lot size allows how much pavement you have on the front, basically.
If I can throw one wrench in the work, is you probably already have existing conditions on B now. So you'd either have to grandfather what's currently out there or mandate that they be removed.
Well, so what you're saying is by saying, but
If you approve A, you've already got B out there. B already
I can make
exists.
it a little simpler. If you have a driveway cut, you can put any registered vehicle in the state of California in that driveway to the max. You can put 3 vehicles across, 2 vehicles across. If you can fit 4, you can put 4. If it's a registered vehicle in the state of California and there's a driveway cut, you can put it in that driveway. There's nothing the city can say about it.
Jumping back to what your comment was, that there's already, this already exists. And so should we go forward with option A, we would have to decide what to do with the people that are already
Well,
in option B
technically, if B already exists, if they have only 25% of land, technically they have to pull up pavement. The reality is that we're going to find properties that are not in compliance. I'm sure that that's the case. I have no problem if they're aesthetically pleasing grandfathering something in, but I don't think that should be the reason to go with a certain choice right now, just because people have already chosen to disobey what's currently on code and say, well, and I mean, in my mind, that's not appropriate. I think we make the decision that is best for the community, and then if we want to grandfather, fine, or if we want to have a review board, fine. If we, there are other ways of allowing an exception to the rule if we felt it was necessary, without making them tear up their driveway.
What I would suggest as a compromise would be B, and limit it to 1 RV on the side driveway, on the extra driveway that doesn't have the requirement for the curb cut. Only RVs. So you could put an RV, which is a mobile home, or you could put a boat, only one in front of the house. And that would be it. That would be in the yellow. Yes, in the yellow part. That would be a compromise. Now, if you can get it behind the gate, close the gate, that's none of our business. That's their property. But in the front of the house, yeah, you would be limited to 1 RV. Like I said, with the other driveway that has the curb cut, good luck limiting that.
So if I understand what you're saying, Mike, because there's a curb cut, anything can be parked there right now,
Everything that is
anything.
registered in the state of California.
Got it.
But you can only park an RV in the yellow.
Right.
Well, except RV, well, but you could have, what Mike's saying is you could, if, obviously, if they choose to have an RV there already, they could. And they could put a second RV on the other side.
Well, they could, but your driveways are usually shorter. You can't put RVs in the driveway. Most people can't put RVs in the driveway. The one complaint we had over this ordinance back when it came out was the fact there was one citizen in town that was really complaining about his neighbor that legally parks his RV in his driveway right now. It just sticks all the way to the sidewalk. I mean, it comes all the way to the sidewalk, but that's completely legal for our code and the state of California's vehicle code for them to do because it's in a driveway with a curb cut. And his complaint, even with his complaint, there's nothing the city could legally do about it. But that was one of the big complaints that came up during this in the beginning. Like I said, I didn't do this for people that are trying to throw 17 toys in their front yard. I did this for folks that don't have room on the garage side, so they can put it on the other side of their house if there is room, without being limited by a curb cut or being told they can't drive over their own landscaping that they pay for.
Councilmember Judge, to clarify, with that example of what you just said, what I'm hearing is if we allow the opposite side strip, that they could have two RVs and there's nothing we can do about it, in your opinion.
On the opposite side where there's no curb cut?
Right, so no curb cut, they go over there and they park an RV there, but then they say, but there's a curb cut at my house, I'm gonna park one over here too. Now you have two.
Well, that's the thing. If you can maneuver, that's what I'm trying to get through to everybody. And I don't think I'm doing a very good job in communicating it, but if you have the room on the opposite side of the house to drive your RV, if you drive it into your curb cut and drive it through your front yard and to the opposite side of your house and put it behind the fence, why are we telling people they can't do that?
Not, okay, so I'm not asking the right question.
Okay.
All right, so what I heard you say, oh, you got pointers.
So,
Yep.
correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying you can park an RV here. And in the yellow, you could only park an RV.
That's what I would say. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, so potentially, to your point, you could have an RV here and an RV there.
No, I would say limit it to one RV.
Okay,
I mean, when
got
I say
it.
RV, I'm talking mobile home. I'm not talking boat or anything like that.
Correct.
Because I'm also assuming that this person that has the strip on the yellow side has space on the side of the house to go behind a fence and put an RV back there.
Yeah. if they
This
want-
would be a place where you could just drive back there and do it.
So you still only get one RV.
Yes.
Got it.
Okay.
I've never
Yeah,
Never
well,
advocated for.
Yeah, I was confused.
than one.
I was confused by your comment when you say you can't do anything about what they're parking in
That-
front of their house.
We
For
can't do
for
anything
instance,
about what they're parking in front of their house if there's a curb cut.
right. And so that neighbor with the complaint, and he's parked his illegally, if, and we look today, can't. But if you put a legal pad on the other side,
He could have
he-
two.
He could theoretically, I was hearing, he could theoretically have two. But what I would make sure that we put in the ordinance is there is only one in front of the house.
We could do the suggested motion with an amendment that says only one RV per the additional driveway.
Okay, so that's where I was confused last time. I thought we could not limit that. So if we allow the pad on the other side and they put an RV there, then they cannot have one in their regular driveway, only because we're saying one RV in your front yard, period.
Yes, in the
Okay.
front yard,
Okay,
in the front yard.
okay, that makes much more sense.
I've never advocated for anything else. Right.
So,
But again, when you allow, if you say the city was just gonna go, we'll let you get a curb cut. Once we allow a curb cut on that side, then we can't limit it, because now it's a state recognized parking spot. So I would leave it the way we have it with the amendment that there's only one RV in front of the house at all times.
Okay, and we're allowed to do that even with the extra pad,
I would say so,
correct?
yeah.
That's what I'm,
It's our amendment.
And with that language, non-passenger vehicle is what I would put in terms of RV. So no, I don't want a boat on the other side and,
I would stick with the non-passenger vehicle as being like a horse trailer or because everything's a passenger vehicle. I mean, that's why you
I
get
know.
CF numbers for boats, that's why you get registration for RVs. But like, your example with horse trailer is perfect. That's a non-passenger vehicle.
Right.
I mean,
There should only be one in the
a
front.
non-human passenger vehicle.
Right, no human.
I think we'd have to come up with some language.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think Sean is sweating over
No,
here.
that was my exact point. We weren't prepared for the vehicle definition language tonight,
come back.
but
Right.
but we do hear what you're saying.
On the fly, Sean, go.
That's all the changes then, yes.
So-
So I just want to make sure, is that all, the only change we're looking for?
Well, I'm looking at, is there any consideration of saying, great, go with this, with that definition, but then still require 50% of landscaping? 48% rounded, 45% landscaping, something that looks like half
I'm
of
still
it.
pretty strong on the landscaping that staff came up with at 33% because of the fact that our citizens took a big hit in the last drought. They lost thousands and thousands of dollars on their landscaping. If they want to change to something else, whether it's pavement, pavers, I mean, the whole thing is, it's so arbitrary. What do you call landscaping? Is, like I said, pavers are called landscaping, but it still looks like a paved front yard. So they could do their entire front yard with pavers. That will save them money as far as watering, because our water prices haven't gone down since the drought, and they only look like they're gonna go up, even with the fact that we're gonna have another rainy year like we did last year. And the fact that the state's gonna come down with draconian legislation saying that you can't have grass. And I really don't like that. I really don't like forcing people to maintain 50% in dirt.
Well, you can have pretty dirt, pretty rocks. I mean, I'm being facetious, but landscaping is, the definition is attractive. Landscaping doesn't mean grass. It can be attractive pine needles with, I don't know, but something that's not just
And
straight
like I said,
cement.
we're not looking to park cars in the part that's been taken away by the landscaping. It's just something that gives them the option to do the driveway on the side of their house, because there's a lot of lots that have that space. But to get that space to drive into the backyard, they're gonna have to get rid of some of their landscaping. Because you can't technically, you know,
Well,
with the-
what I saw, Mike, with that chart, and I hear you, and I agree that it'd be nice to have that on the side. Those that are more narrow, if they don't have the additional 8 feet on the side, then they're still able to do exactly what you're, it's just the 40-foot, the really narrow lots that would have trouble having room for a second lot. They
that's why I
couldn't
say
do it.
The 32% would cover everybody.
They can't.
Would cover everybody. And not leave anybody out.
Well, no, looking at this chart right now, narrow 40%, 32, they're still left out. It's just the 65, looking at least, and your point as well, I'm sorry, I realize it depends on the depth, et cetera, and so I'm trying.
If you go up to Wood Ranch, you can look at those houses and know there's nowhere on either side of those houses where you can put an RV. They can't do it. So there's no reason for them to have. The RV space, the pad in front isn't to store the RV, it's the place where you can drive to the backyard. Yeah, they could park one there, but I don't think in Wood Ranch you could do that either. You would go below the 32%.
You'd go below the 32%, and the HOA would say, no, you can't.
Yes, exactly. And again, it's an HOA. We're not looking to overrule HOAs.
But we are here to give the same consideration to all of our citizens.
People don't always like their HOA decisions either. So
true, so true.
we're going to have people that like whatever we decide, and we're going to have people that don't like what we decide. So
Well, why don't we right now go forward, at least with it right now, and then go forward, but at least right now vote on the backyard and make that a go,
I'm
and
fully
then.
willing to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, why don't you go ahead and do
All
that?
right. I move to introduce ordinance number 1353, amending portions of Title 9 of Simi Valley Municipal Code, Z-S-2023-006, to modify residential off-street parking standards, front yard landscaping, rear vehicle access gates, and screening, and a determination that the amendments are categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, with the addition of only one RV in front of the house.
Okay,
Second.
that was the second?
Yeah.
All right, then we were going to call for a vote.
I had to play it in my.
If I can, and I need the city attorney to weigh in on this, I don't think that's going to be a sufficient enough definition for us to enforce it. If that's okay, I think what we'd like to do is continue the hearing
Okay.
to December 4th, come back with an ordinance that is written that addresses what you're saying, and then you can adopt the ordinance at that time.
Yeah, let's make sure we get it right and that it's enforceable. I agree with that.
And that's correct, and we discussed that beforehand, just to get the language right, because either way, you'd have to come back. So my recommendation would be to continue it to a date certain, probably December 4th.
Is
So,
it 4th, 3rd?
It's 4th. Yeah, it's the 4th. So we are going to continue this hearing on the meeting scheduled for December 4th. Monday, December 4th.
Yep. And we'll come back with a definition and as based upon
And
your
you still would have to
discussions-
vote on that.
We'll withdraw the motion.
You'd have to vote to continue the hearing.
Yeah. So
So,
we'll need you to, I'm sorry.
I move to
withdraw your
continue the
motion
hearing.
by-
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion and move to continue the hearing until December 4th.
There you go.
Second.
call for a vote.
Sorry, Mike.
The motion to continue unanimous.
Thanks, guys. We just like seeing you regularly.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 7, the consent calendar, and there are no resolutions for your consideration this evening.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, next on the agenda is item 9A, authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a change order to the contract with Schneider Electric Buildings America for the improvements at the Simi Valley Water Quality Control Plant. And Public Works Director Ron Fujiwaki is here to present this item.
Good evening, Mayor Thomas and council members. Joining me tonight is Al Sexton, our Deputy Public Works Director for Sanitation. Tonight, staff is recommending that the City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a change order with Schneider Electric Buildings America, Inc., or Schneider Electric, for a contract reduction in the amount of almost $8 million, extend the contract term with a final completion date of May 7th, 2024, and reduce the scope of work for the project. In August 2019, the City Council awarded a contract to Schneider Electric in the amount of approximately $38.6 million to design and build new and replacement systems for energy efficiency and to rehabilitate equipment at the water quality control plant. The project was to complete 11 energy conservation measures to a variety of components at the plant. The major items in the change order will delete a gas conditioning component for CNG fueling, the rehabilitation and replacement of 2 digesters, and the rehabilitation and replacement of 2 secondary clarifiers to allow a final project completion of May 7, 2024. The Schneider Electric project is a design-build construction project. Upon contract award, Schneider Electric initiated the design of various components of the project, and as design plans progressed, equipment was ordered and construction was initiated. The project was expected to be completed in the spring of 2022. However, due to design issues, supply train delays, and construction delays, the project was not completed by the contract deadline. In May 2022, the city began assessing liquidated damages against Schneider Electric due to the project exceeding the contract completion date. In addition, a variety of change orders were requested by Schneider Electric, had been submitted, and included $686,500 in change order requests, which the city has disputed and remains unresolved, a request for a 365-day contract extension and an undetermined future cost claim, and another request for an additional 196-day contract time extension, also with a future undetermined cost claim. Schneider Electric's proposed project completion date has now been extended to, according to their schedule, April of 2025. Due to the size and scope of the project, the city obtained funding from Bank of America Public Capital, or B of A, to finance the project. The original financing agreement with B of A provided for a project completion date of June 10, 2022. Due to the continued delays in completion of the project, the city negotiated a First Amendment to the B of A financing to revise the project completion date to September 30, 2024. Extensions beyond this date will result in tax implications for the financing. Since it became apparent the project would not be completed by the revised funding deadline, staff began discussions with Schneider Electric in an effort to develop a plan that would satisfy the September 2024 financing deadline and resolve outstanding issues between the city and Schneider Electric. The recommended change order will settle all outstanding claims and include a reduction in the contract amount, an extension of the project completion date to May 7, 2024, a resolution of the final contract amount and disputed costs, and a reduction in the scope of work. While several project components are being removed from the Schneider Electric scope of work, these components are desired to be completed to ensure continued efficiency of the water quality control plant operations. Therefore, staff will prepare documents to engage a new contractor to complete the removed components of the original scope of work. As noted above, the Schneider Electric project was financed through a borrowing from Bank of America Public Capital. With the reduced Schneider Electric scope of work, B of A funds from the financing package will remain available. Should the City Council approve the proposed change order, staff will engage B of A to address the funds that have been deobligated by the project and explore alternatives to finance the components removed from the Schneider Electric scope of work. Therefore, it is recommended that the City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a change order with Schneider Electric. That concludes staff reports, and Al and I are available for questions.
Councilmember Rhodes?
Al, you did a great job on the presentation. Thank you.
I knew he would.
Thank you for articulating very calmly this situation. And the reason that we should not glance and read staff reports quickly is I went, oh, a reduction in contract. That's great. We're saving money. Then I read further on. And I will tell you that if a contractor comes to do work at my house and does not complete the work on time or on budget and just request more and more money, I get upset about it. And your calmness in this situation has been great. And it also sounds like you've worked out an excellent strategy for getting the crucial work done while still keeping an eye on revisiting the funds that we're not saving, but going to spend them on the furtherance of that project, and we'll eventually get it all done. So thank you for the comprehensive report, and I would support your recommendations.
I have to give credit to Al and our engineers in sanitation for negotiating this change order. They worked hard, had many discussions, and we believe came to something that both sides could accept.
Councilmember Litster?
Thank you for the report. Much appreciated. So if I understand this correctly, the initial, and I remember approving this, $38,598,000, et cetera, and we're still basically going to pay $30,615,000, and there's a reduction of about close to $8 million, as you said. I guess my real question is, there's a list of items that they are not getting done, or that they halfway started and we need to find someone else to pick up the slack and finish and do, et cetera. Can we get that done for $8 million? The things that they are being removed from the table with them?
That's probably yet to be determined. Well, it's cost differential. It's been several years since we originally did this and originally bid it out. We'll probably, Whether we decide to design it or go with a design build with a new contractor, that's yet to be determined as well. So I don't think we could guarantee that we're going to get the same work done at the same price.
I was afraid that that was going to be the answer, but I was hoping you'd say, oh, yes, we get those two most important things done, but I understand. So I went back. It was fun to read the report that we had way back initially when this was approved, et cetera. And 11 proposed projects would improve city infrastructure, optimize treatment processes, provide energy savings, reduce energy costs, and reduce city maintenance expenses. So those were the intentions of these 11 projects. Of the 11, I guess my question is, have we met any of those, do you feel like, or any of those objectives, or are those objectives still needing to be met in all cases?
Yeah, of those 11, 9 are going to be getting completed. So
Okay.
So we are seeing progress in terms of treatment control and more efficiencies just in the operation of the facility once all those other ones are completed, other than these 2.
Got it. And these 2 ultimately will lead to, well, improved infrastructure, or is it also cost energy usage savings? The ones
Both, actually.
Both. Okay, that's what I suspected. As I recall, we were really gung ho at the time on Schneider Electric. That they were. I don't recall a discussion of anyone else being considered at the time. Well, and maybe there were, but are there other entities out there that you feel that could step in and complete this project to your satisfaction?
I'm sure there are other big contractors that are able to do this kind of work and do a design build. We have to go back and evaluate whether we want to go ahead and put together the designs ourselves or go to a design build kind of contract again. It might be more efficient and effective if staff did the design in-house or did design with consultants and then bid out the project as a separate component of the overall completion.
Interesting. Okay. And obviously you know the equipment, what's there, and maybe have the best knowledge of what we've got. Okay. Well, I certainly approve this change order and appreciate your efforts, but I just wanted to get a better understanding. So thank you.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had one additional question. So I know that we removed some of the penalties from Schneider in order for them to be able to complete the work. In our thought about costs and changing vendors and switching and coming to completion on at least a portion of the work, our borrowing rate for the city, how is that going to be effective versus, several years ago we probably put this line of credit in and now we're going to have another one. I know it will be smaller, but how is that factored into the costs of this? And is there any reason to ask Schneider for more concessions based on interest costs?
I think asking Schneider for more concessions would be would not be the best approach. I don't think we'd get anywhere with that. And we have a very good relationship with the bank. We've done 4 different financings with them. Now, obviously, interest rates have changed, so we'll have to take a look at that of where it goes. But this is, the times are different, and it's a smaller project as well. So I'm not too concerned about our borrowing capacity, but there may be additional interest costs.
Would you like a motion?
No more discussion. Entertain a motion.
Okay, I move to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a change order with Schneider Electric for a contract reduction, extend the contract term with a final completion date of May 7th, 2024, and reduce the scope of work for the project.
Second.
Call for a vote.
The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, next on the agenda is item 10A, City Council Member Reports.
Councilmember Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Starting back on our last meeting day, I don't remember if I brought it up, but we had 5 hours of Area Housing Authority interviews prior to the council meeting that day. Only 5 hours of interviews, and all great candidates. Tuesday, October 24th, sorry, those were, I skipped that one, okay. Thursday, October 26th, we had the VCOG annual dinner at the Cultural Arts Center, and a fantastic event, including great food and entertainment. Thanks, May's Kitchen. I have to give an acknowledgement that our very own Councilwoman Litster is the chair of that VCOG and put on an outstanding event, and you made Simi Valley proud to have all of those dignitaries here, so thank you for that. Friday, October 27th, I skipped an event to attend a funeral for Lexi King at St. Rose of Lima, and she will be missed. Saturday, October 28th, I went to the street fair, and I know that someone else will talk about it, but I was sad that I missed the, what's it called, where they all show up? The flash mob. I missed that, and so if you could just do that over again, that would be great. Yeah, and then I'll need to know when it is. So,
Sworn to secrecy.
Monday, October 30th, I took a Zoom call with the Chief Operating Officer of the Clean Power Alliance. The Clean Power Alliance is entering into, or they wanted to last Thursday, enter into agreement which is an unprecedented historical agreement to buy wind power from a facility that's being built in New Mexico. And it took 17 years to get the permits to build the supply line that gets it to the edge of Arizona. I only bring that up because, one, if it actually gets built and it works, it's going to be kind of amazing. It will be, in fact, record-setting and unprecedented. The thing that is shocking in all of that is that in 5 years of the Clean Power Alliance, apparently, there are only 2 board members now, myself being one of them, that asked to see the unredacted version of the contracts that we are being asked to vote on. This was over a 50-page purchase agreement, and a third of it was black. And so we sat for an hour and a half with the COO. I can report that they negotiate a really good contract. But I can also report that I'm amazed that other cities, other municipalities that participate in Clean Power Alliance are not doing their due diligence to look under the redacted comments. And it should make us as a city nervous that there's just yes people out there doing these things. And so I will do my best to represent the city and keep us safe. Wednesday, November 1st, I was able to attend the State of the Region release event, where we were presented with this document, the region report. And I must confess, as the freshman going in there, I thought it was probably an important meeting. I should probably go. I didn't know exactly what I was going to see or be presented with. I have seen this document before when I was running, because it's amazing data and it's put out every 2 years. What I did not know going into that event is that our very own Samantha Argerbright is the chair this year of that committee and getting this report done. And once again, Simi Valley represented extremely well by a top-notch talent that got this report out. And so if you get a chance, there is hard copy. There's also flip book, electronic flip book, and PDF versions at their site, at the Ventura County Civic Alliance site. Fantastic data that will steer decisions that we're making on into the future. Thursday, November 2nd, was a day at City Hall. I attended the 2 SCAG meetings remotely here, the Community Economic and Human Development Committee meeting and the Regional Council meeting. We did both remotely here. And the reason for doing that here is that that evening at the Reagan Library was the State of the County event celebrating 50 years, and it was a fabulous event to go and attend. And again, makes you really proud of the county, and I think someone will probably talk about safety in the county, but that was a huge takeaway that we are a shining light in California in terms of safety in the county. On Saturday, November 4th, I had some back-to-back events. I went to Burgers with the Blue event at the Habit across the street from City Hall, and what a fantastic event to put forward. I don't remember the name of the horse that was there, but they had a mounted patrol horse, and the kids were having fun. I showed up in bow tie and cufflinks because I had to go straight from there to the YMCA's 5th annual gala at the Reagan. So ordering a hamburger in bow tie was kind of fun, so I got one for my wife. And then today, before I come over here, I was honored to be a speaker at the Royal Brown Bag Lunch, where they were talking about community service and what is community service from a city council point of view. And Mr. Mayor, that ends my report.
Councilmember Litster.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your kind comments. Councilmember Rhodes, much appreciated. In fact, I will start with that event, October 26th, that was held at our own beautiful Cultural Arts Center, and that was the Ventura County Association of Governments annual dinner. It was held in Simi Valley because the chair basically gets to show off their city. And what's fun was that I don't think it's been in Simi Valley for 8, 9, 10 years. I understand last time it was with Mayor Bob Huber and at the Reagan. So I was delighted to show them another beautiful jewel in our community. But I did want to thank Fred Hessel he bent over backwards with entertainment and just making that place shine. And a special thank you to Sue Klepper and Heidi DiNardo, who went above and beyond to just make sure every detail was just beautiful and lovely. And yes, I thought Simi Valley did well. In fact, some of the comments were that they were glad that they don't have to do it next year to follow what we did. So anyway, thank you for all that attended. I appreciate my colleagues for being there, and it was just a lovely evening. So thank you all that was part of that. Yes, the weekend, October 28th, was the street fair. My apologies for not telling you in advance about that flash mob. I kept hinting about these orchestra rehearsals, but here in Simi Valley, but we were sworn to secrecy that truly to make it a flash mob, you don't tell anyone. But so anyway, rehearsal Friday night, and then of course, and here it's just a funny anecdote, trying to be very secretive about it. We did show up Friday night to practice. That was the night that the mall decided they were going to have trick-or-treating, and it was wall-to-wall kids and people all over Friday evening, and we thought so much for trying to be on the sly. But it was a fun way. Basically, obviously, we played the theme song for Little House on the Prairie in front of the chamber booth and the Little House on Prairie booth that was there to tell people about the 50th anniversary, which is coming up and being commemorated. And actually, a big thank you to Joe Metcalf, who was the organizer of that orchestra, the Flash Mob, who had that idea and put it all together. And what I did love is that anyone who plays an instrument was invited to be part of it. So all abilities, all ages, lots of fun. So that was the weekend. And thank you to the Chamber for putting together, I thought, a great street fair. Lots of great things to see and do and attend, and appreciate everyone who was involved. Of course, Tuesday was Halloween. Hope all of you got your sugar candy fix. It was very fun handing out candy to our neighbors and getting better acquainted. Wednesday, I'm sorry that I missed that the State of the Region report release. Glad that you were there, and appreciate Ms. Argerbright and all that she does for that. Thursday, November the 2nd, I too attended my SCAG Energy and Environment meeting remotely here as well, and it was nice to be joined by Jennifer Crosswhite, Jen Cross, who was with Santa Paula. So she normally is traveling with Rocky to, anyway, so the two of us sat in on that together. A couple of takeaways from that meeting. The first was that they had a report by Department of Energy, State and Community Energy Programs. The representative talked about all of the grants. I know I forwarded that to Brian. It was a bit of a mouthful of grants, but I thought very interesting that at the federal level, they're trying to be more proactive about local community granting. And so hopefully there's something there that we can take advantage of. The other report was a climate resilient urban greening best practices, which basically I thought validated our tree designation here in Simi Valley. It was very much about the tree canopy and the importance for heat reduction, et cetera. But I did forward that report to Mr. Stratus Paris, Mr. Paris, because I thought it was helpful. The report included links to basically identify what is the best tree palette for your community based on heat and temperature, and anyway, so maybe there was some use for in our planning department, but it was also very interesting. Also, on Thursday, November the 2nd, I attended the Simi Valley Ed Foundation Teacher of the Month, where we awarded Diane Magel of Burlwood Elementary Teacher of the Month, a kindergarten teacher who, bless her heart, has been teaching there many, many years, and appreciate her efforts. And then, yes, that evening attended the State of the County event with my colleagues. I think all of us were there, and got to hear Dr. Savette Johnson, of the CEO of the county, speak, and she was very articulate. And yes, she did speak about safety, and one of the things I thought, and about how safe our community is and the good things that they're doing, but I also thought it was very interesting that someone recently shared with me Rocket Mortgage listing or publication of the safest communities in the nation. And what is very commendable is that Simi Valley was ranked number 8 of the top of those 15 top communities to move to. It was interesting to see where the other California cities that maybe showed up. Number 2 was Irvine, number 3 was Murrieta, number 8 was Simi Valley. Number 12 was Glendale, number 13 Orange, number 15 Thousand Oaks. So that was, anyway, Rocket Mortgage's ranking. Wherever we can get it, thank you. I should thank our chief of police for his efforts getting us at number 8 in that ranking. Also on Saturday, November the 4th, also attended the YMCA 5th Annual Gala. Besides being a big fundraiser fun event, one of the things they did share was their desires for their expansion plans here in Simi Valley, which includes a full gymnasium, some pickleball, outdoor courts, et cetera. So I know that they're hopeful that will be in their future. One final thing, actually today I met with our executive director of VCOG, Hugh Riley. Actually, we traveled out to Cal State Channel Islands together because that's where next year's meetings will be held. I know there was some discussion being done here. I think there was some people on the other side of the county thought that was just too far a drive to come to Simi Valley. That's all right. But it was very interesting to be on the campus of Cal State Channel Island and to visit the John Spohr Broom Library. I've not been there before. Beautiful facility, just a beautiful campus. So anyway, it was good to be there, and that's where we'll be for VCOG next year. And so that completes my report. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Councilmember Kavanagh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Saturday, October 28th, I also attended the street fair. I think we were all pretty much there. Great turnout. Our 5-star chamber does a great job on that. I took my grandsons, who are 2 and 4, and all they wanted to do was trick or treat for the candy. But they had a great time. So, and it's always good because you go out there and you see people, you see businesses, and you see people you know, and it's really a great community event. So. On Wednesday, November 1st, I had an EDC Executive Committee meeting down in Camarillo. We have a lot of great things coming forward. Number one is we're renewing the contract for our CEO, and that's always important because he's so good at what he does. So we're working on that. What was really different about this one is that we met at Haas Automation in Oxnard. And the reason we did that is Peter Zierhut is on my executive team. He's the Secretary Treasurer, and he's also with Haas. So we now have a new group in the county called VCIC. So it's the Ventura County Industry Council. And what they are is a combination of manufacturers, education, small business, and workforces to try and determine who needs what type of training. So in other words, the industries, the businesses are working with the educational aspects, saying, these are the skills we need our employees to have. How can we go about doing them? So the VCIC, we had about 60 people in the room. It was a very good turnout for one of their first big annual meetings. And I think they've got a lot of potential, and they're really going to be working hard at that. I don't know that we have any East County businesses in there, but we'll work on it. We'll tell Peter to get to work on that. And Haas Automation, oh my gosh, what a wonderful place that was to visit. That was incredibly informational. On Thursday, November 2nd, I also attended the State of the County. That was great. Savette does a wonderful job presenting. I told her you were great. She goes, I hate doing this. I said, but you are so good at it. She goes, but I don't like doing it. But she did a great job. She kept everybody on their toes, listening, very, very interested in what she had to say. And we are the safest large county in the state. So we need to really focus on that. Just because that city next to us was on another report doesn't mean we're not great here. Right, Chief? Exactly. On Sunday, I had the privilege of babysitting my two grandsons so that my daughter could volunteer at the Mangia Festival. I gather it was a great turnout. I'm very happy. It's for the need. Dorina works with the school counselors, which is there, and she said the mayor was there and Mike was there along with other people that we know. So sounds like it was a great event. I probably would have been better off going to that than babysitting, but a grandma's got to do her duty. So, but then this morning we had our VCAS committee meeting down in Camarillo at the fire department. The animal services. Our county does a great job. The only problem is there's a higher return rate right now going on, and there's a higher percentage of dogs in the shelters. So what was it she had? I'm sorry. So we've had, the good news is on August 26th, we had a Clear the Shelter event, and we had 116 animals adopted. But our shelter capacity is above normal. So we've had an increase of 17% in stray dogs coming in, 15% increase in stray cats. But then to turn it around, our adoptions are up a little bit, 24% for dogs and 12.5% for cats. But our adoption returns are at 40% increase. And they're coming back with behavioral issues. And Jackie Rose is the director. And so Director Rose kind of tried to explain why. And a lot of, the majority of it is we have a lot of large dogs that are, I call them high maintenance dogs, that they need a lot of attention. They need a lot of training. You've got your Huskies and your German Shepherds and your Malinois, those type of dogs aren't for every family. I mean, they're great animals, but they need to have owners that work with them and spend time with them and exercise them and that type of a thing. So she said that's why she thinks that we're getting a higher return rate is they try and educate everybody when they're taking these animals, saying this is what you're going to expect, but not everyone understands. They think they're going to get a nice family dog, and they can be a nice family dog, but they need a lot of attention first. They're very smart. They're all very smart, and you know what a smart dog does. They win every time. One of the things I found very interesting about this is the Animal Services, the county, we've started a DocuPet for licensing, and it started in October of this year. So you can license your pet online you go through the Ventura County Animal Services website, and it says license your dog, and it's DocuPet. And then they track and everything. Your dog on license will get its own tag with its own separate number on it. That number can be in their database with whatever information you want to supply, whether you want to give your phone number if somebody loses finds your animal or that type of a thing. And it can be in reverse too. Somebody can call in and say, I have found this animal and this is the code number on it, and they're able to connect. Along with that, they have something that they're calling Home Safe, which is part of that, to where they're going to work with reuniting animals. But there were a lot of different things about that were very interesting. So if you're interested, go online. They also have name tags, little, really cute tags you can get for your animals. If you're whatever you're interested in, they have a little tag that you can get, and they're $20. And the animal shelter will get $4 back for each one. So 20% of those sales will go back to the animal shelter. So that's pretty good. That was very nice. The last thing is on December 2nd is Santa Paws, which is you can bring your animal down to the animal shelter and have pictures taken with Santa Claus. So they do that every year, but I think that's the same day as Touch a Truck. So you're gonna have to do both. You go to Touch a Truck in the afternoon and pictures in the morning, or vice versa, whatever fits your program. But the Santa Paws is very popular, and they always get a nice turnout, and it brings people to the shelter to see what it is and what services they have and everything else. So that's the end of my report, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Monday, October 23rd, along with Councilmember Rhodes, as he already spoke to, did the Area Housing Authority interviews. It was a long day of interviews. I think we picked the right candidate for that, and that'll be forthcoming soon. Tuesday, October 24th, I was part of a Zoom call with Metrolink, talking about the double tracking coming to our city soon, hopefully starting next year, and other items of interest for the city. The double tracking will definitely do a lot for our city. Number one, it'll get rid of that train horn, hopefully, after it gets finished, which will be a very important thing for our city. On Thursday, October 26th, I too commend Councilmember Lister on her organization of the VCOG dinner. It was great. Had a great time. The entertainment was fabulous. My wife and I enjoyed it very much. On Saturday, October 28th, I attended the street fair. I was from booth to booth because there was a lot of booths I was supposed to be helping with. So it was a great event. Well attended. A lot of interesting stuff there. Did anybody try the hot sauce? There was a guy selling hot sauce there that was outstanding. And it wasn't that bad, actually. It was very good, very flavorful hot sauce. On Tuesdays, October 31st, what was this? Oh, on Tuesday, October 31st, I attended another Zoom call for a VCTC discussing the Santa Paula branch line. We're trying to get those issues resolved over there with our contractor that owns the railroad, is operating the railroad for us, and hopefully to alleviate the citizens' concerns there near Fillmore with train cars being parked in the open and stuff like that. Hopefully we're coming to fruition on that. We're doing some contract tweaks to get that done, and we're still, hoping to get that bridge fixed before the end of next year so we can move some of that stuff out of there. On Wednesday, November 1st, I too attended the State of the Region report with Councilmember Rhodes and a lot of our city staff. I can't say enough. Sam's committee that she was the chair of this year, which Miss Sam Margabright, was on the committee for the council. What's that alliance?
Civic Alliance.
Ventura County Civic Alliance. They did a great job and very informational report. Check them out online. Their report it's got a whole bunch of info in there, and it makes our county look fantastic, and it makes our city look very good too, in my opinion. On November 2nd, I attended the State of the County, well, go back to November 1st on Wednesday. I had to go from the State of the Region, downtown LA, to the SCAG Executive Committee. Not much out of that, nothing to report to here. I represent VCTC on SCAG, so most of the stuff I concentrate on there is transportation issues. On Thursday, I did continue with the Regional Council and the Transportation Committee for SCAG. Like I said, not too much new out of there. They are getting ready to start putting forward a lot of programs. I'll figure out the name later, but there's a lot of programs coming out of SCAG that will benefit our city as far as getting grants and stuff like that if we decide to take advantage of those. I did attend the State of the County later that evening over at the Reagan Library. This county did a great job. I don't think Simi Valley was highlighted enough. That's just my opinion. Because without us, I think we anchor the county pretty well. Yeah, we do. We make the county look good. On Friday, November 3rd, I could not attend VCTC because I was attending the Simi Valley Police Foundation trap shoot, which I came in second. That was pretty fun. We had a great time doing that. Saturday, November 4th, I didn't go to the YMCA thing because my wife and I already had tickets for the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center where we saw the Addams Family. That's going to run for another week and a half, I believe. If you haven't got your tickets yet, you can check it out. It was a very entertaining program. Sunday, November 5th, I did attend the Manja Manja Italian Festival over at Moore Park at the Underwood Ranch in the Walnut Grove. Big shout out to For the Need. That foundation is an important foundation in our city, a great nonprofit. If you have the chance, please support them. They're doing great work with children coming out of foster care, transitioning into the real life, because once you turn 18 in foster care, you're basically kicked to the curb and your options are limited. This program helps those children or those young adults find their way. So I would strongly suggest supporting this charity. Their event was great. I love Italian food, and I had a great time. I want to thank the mayor for inviting me, and that's the end of my report.
Mr. Mayor, can I interrupt one time real quick? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
I forgot about the trap shoot, and Councilmember Rhodes and I were on the same team. And even adding our score together, we were less than 50% of Mayor Pro Tem judges. I just thought I'd share that with you.
The only thing that is of note is we were there.
There you go. We were. I just wanted to share that.
Well, good job being there. Okay, trying to do this quickly. On the 25th, I was asked to speak at Sinaloa Middle School on drug abuse, along with a school resource officer, with a group of parents. It wasn't a very big group, but it was a great discussion that lasted over 2 hours. On the 26th, the VCOG annual dinner. That was interesting. 27th, this was great. So I was asked to speak at Hollow Hills Elementary, their Citizenship Awards Day. And basically what that was is I spoke in 2 parts to the entire student body population of the school, and talked about citizenship and about the city and what my role is. And then I had this great idea of asking them if they had any questions, which led to questions like, do I like donuts? Am I single? I learned my lesson. The 28th, street fair. I worked the morning at the Police Foundation booth, and then I was in the know. I'm not telling who, that there was going to be a flash mob, and I made sure to be there when it happened, and it was great. Our own city orchestra. I love it. And then on the second, State of the County at the Reagan Library, very interesting, a lot of information, bordering on maybe a little too much information. I think even Svet thought that she was pushing it near the end. But it was really interesting, and there was a lot of information, and we do live in a fantastic county. And of course, in the best part of the county here in the city. On the 3rd, I spoke to Simi Valley Leadership class out at the transit facility for Government Day, and had a great conversation with them. And then yesterday, attended the For the Need Foundation's inaugural fundraiser, the Italian Food Festival, and it was fantastic. There was a lot of really, really good food, and I really am proud to be a sponsor of that organization. They really do great work. And that is the end of my report. So with, I am going to ask for future agenda items. And seeing none. Oh, you got one? Go ahead.
We did pass on consent tonight the items about what's that upcoming grant?
Community Projects Grant.
Community Projects Grant. What I'd like to do, before we go forward with that, is kind of review our criteria for people asking for money from that, to make sure that the stuff they do is in Simi Valley, and that we limit the monies that get put into those nonprofits stays in Simi Valley. I'd just like to put that out there. Maybe it's not so much of an agenda item, it's something the city can work for. If it has to be an agenda item, I don't have a problem asking for it.
Yeah, we can bring it back for the council to chew on of if they want to make any modifications to the criteria.
Thanks. Second thing was being on the Transit Committee for SCAG and being on Ventura County Transportation Committee, there's a lot of talk about electrification of vehicles and a lot of talk about other things. is there a way, I'm going to ask the city manager, is there a way that the city can find to incentivize our existing fuel stations, gas stations, et cetera, to have a hydrogen infrastructure or to have something in place for when this happens? Right now, I do not think our city is prepared for the electrification that the state demands by 2035, and I don't know how many are online or how many are in the pipeline to be built. But I know of the Tesla station we have over at Target. I know of a couple other public charging stations, and that's it. So I'd like to find out something, if we can be kept informed of some way. I don't care if what it takes. I mean, I'd like to find some way to incentivize our normal gas stations to put in the alternate fueling stuff too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. So we do not have a requirement for commercial industrial developments to install EV chargers. You could certainly include that as a code item. We could modify our code to require that. The infrastructure for hydrogen is probably a little bit greater, and I'm not quite sure if it is as well received right now, but I don't expect we're going to see a lot of gas stations getting built now, but the question becomes is what happens when they convert to something else. Let's take a look at that. Yeah.
And Mayor, I actually did think of one thing that I would maybe like to add to our agenda. I appreciate the report that Mr. Gabler sent out about the Department of Transportation and basically all the off-ramps being beautified, et cetera. I wondered if that maybe it would be worthy of having just a quick report or something in this chamber so people are more aware of what that looks like, how that's going, when that will happen, what that means. So maybe a presentation by them. I don't know.
Let us see if we can get. It's been pulling teeth just to get Caltrans to get to this point. So,
maybe they know how interested we are that they'll keep working, because I know you said it was happening. And I thought, where? I've been looking and I haven't seen the.
Well, the K-rails are up now.
Okay,
so
the
it's a
K-rails.
start.
Okay.
Let us see if we can. I mean, it's gonna be a long construction period. Let us see if we can get.
I want people to be excited about it, so when it's long, they're not unhappy when it's long.
They did give us some kind of outline as to what they were going to do. I
We
mean,
do. We
is
have-
it possible we could just do our own report on what we know?
Yeah, we'll pull something together if we can't get Caltrans out here.
That'd be great.
But
Okay.
it may be not till next year.
Whenever.
Yep.
I understood. Thank you.
One last
Yes.
thing. Sorry.
Nothing to forward.
The PSPS events that have been happening, can we get a report from Edison on whether they think that these are now fulfilling the reduction in events, or are they going to continue at this rate?
We'll schedule Edison to come out and make a presentation.
Yes, because I received some pretty strong promises that I'm anxious to discuss with them. All right, so with that, going, no more. Okay, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and I will see you 1 week from today.
Very good.